morning, everyone. I'm Ketan, hosting for today's webinar organized by Qapita. The topic is something which is untouched or get more often miss the attention which it deserves, which is a crucial role of HR while designing the ESOP scheme and the effective communication to the employees. So we have experienced professional from Qapita who will touch upon the crucial aspect of this topic and guide us throughout the session. So we have Rahul Somani, who is an experienced professional and has a wide experience guiding the ESOPs, designing the ESOP scheme across listed, unlisted space. He has also edge on guiding the financial aspect while designing the ESOP scheme. Currently, he heads the consulting and managed services at Qapita. Welcome, Rahul. We have
Thanks.
the another experience, Sandeep Kumar, who is a more than a decade experience in advising people, management, advising on talent retention, motivation. Uh, he heads the Capita's HR strategy. He heads the talent retention program at Capita. So welcome Rahul and Sandeep, and I hope throughout the session we will get most of your experience, thoughts, and insights to guide the participants on the topic. So over to you.
Thank you, Ketan, for
Thank,
the warm welcome.
thanks, Ketan. Thanks for giving this opportunity, and it's pleasure to interact with Sandeep on this particular topic, which is very close to my heart. Means doing means on the other side of table discussing with CHROs, CFOs, founders for designing, implementation, what are the pros and cons. But means for today means thanks for this opportunity to ask internally that what is the thought and where I mean as the expert I am asking any questions. It is more like a recipient actually. So this is the so thanks for inviting me. And thanks Sandeep, thanks for taking out your valuable time to discuss with us and giving the HR perspective, because many times when we go for a meeting or maybe discussions on the ESOPs, generally the things is it starts with valuations, how valuations will work, accounting, how the compliances will go, what implementations we should do, and but if you ask me after so many experience, so many years of experience, actually what I feel that these are not the factors which generally uh, uh, means succeed or fails any ESOP scheme plan. Actually, it is more like a human touch actually, where the HR perspective is the best, where because it's for the employees, and the center of all this ESOP's conversation is generally the human touch and HR, where how the employees will take it. So and that's why means when Ketan asked me for this webinar or discussions, actually I just said yes, because instead of discussing with your technical view, and I want to discuss the HR perspective, and where you are the best person to give us that perspective, that okay, what how the HR people thinks about it, how they take care of all the stakeholders, whether they are founders, employees, account CFOs, compliances, that how to make everyone's objective, that okay, they should achieve their objectives with that it should overall it should achieve the company or organization objectives actually, and it should align with their own thoughts. So that's why means really looking forward to this conversation. Yeah. So yeah, Sandeep, if you want to add something in the, you can. I mean, I have a list of questions, Sandeep, for today's webinar, and maybe this is more, you don't take it from the technical side. This is more from the recipient side actually. So yeah.
Definitely, it's a pleasure to be part of this conversation, Rahul. Right? Uh, Capita as an organization is considered an expert in this domain, and a lot of HR professionals work with us to understand how this truly works, the technicalities. But as you said, absolutely right. There is always a people side to ESOPs or compensation tool rewards, and that's the side generally which kind of people don't discuss much. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity for me to throw some light on that side of the equation, and completely a pleasure. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sandeep.
Yes.
So,
So just before starting
yeah.
the actual interaction, a request for the participant that you can post your queries in the chat box, and at the end we will answer. We will ask Sandeep and Rahul to throw lights on the your queries.
Thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, Ketan. So Sandeep, I first start with the questions actually, and that is the basic question. When even we are starting any project, we generally start with this particular question is that what was the when you implemented ESOPs in Capita? What is the main objectives you have seen, or maybe what is the cultural change you want to bring to the organization? So that is something. So that is like that. What is the core actually where you feel that okay, this is the right time, and these are the objectives we want to achieve. So that is my first questions in Capita we all day in day out deal with ESOPs, but what are our main objectives to bring this particular instrument in our organization?
Yes, absolutely. See, Capita is a mission-driven company, right? We see employee equity as a much more powerful instrument. We being the an expert in this domain than let's say any other organization. What we have found is that employee equity is the largest distributed wealth creator outside any ownership, like let's say the typical family offices or how traditionally wealth has been distributed. ESOPs or employee equity has been the largest distributed wealth creator. And we take this uh, with a lot of pride. And this is something which was a key thought for us as well when we started designing our objectives or our cultural objectives around why we wanted to come up with an ESOP plan. See, typically, if you look at any organization, the first bunch of people they will be providing the equity to would be the leadership group. The second, let's say, would be the core revenue generators. And it generally stops there early on, right? But we wanted to come up with a much more broad-based plan. We wanted to make sure that every employee in the company who's helping us create that wealth is getting a share in that wealth. So that was really important for us to create a culture of total ownership across all layers, including all employees, not just the leadership group.
Okay, so thanks Sandeep for highlighting this part that when you thought that it should be a broad-based plan, which is generally not the industry trend actually. Means if you see industry trend, very few companies go up to 60% also, and like and broad-based like is a difficult to find in currently in Indian scenarios. The majority of the companies you will find in between 10% or 20% of the population even. So that's why. So I mean just want to understand, going little bit more detail into that. You said broad based, but if you can just put it that uh, uh, whom you covered in the ESOPs plan, means to what level you covered in Capita's organization, and how you choose the employees okay, this is the employee career and this is the stage of employee career where he should get a pie of the ownership, and he should understand the objectives of the company. So just want to understand your thought before, and I mean how you and yes, follow up questions will be there, that how you convinced founders, investors, everyone. So that is something I just want to understand.
Yeah, so I'll cover the first part first, and then we'll look at the founders and investors perspective later. But to give you like a broad sense of how all these key stakeholders look at it, traditionally an employee sees equity as a compensation, right? They just see it as part of their salary. Investors are looking for the return on the investment. the investment that, so that's their key focus. But for the owners of the business, they are looking for real value adding contribution. Now, when we distribute equity across everyone, and in doing so, make everyone an owner of the company, we try drive a much deeper sense of value creation and a strong motivation to contribute to the organization's success. So, with this idea, we started, and it took us some time. It's not that in the first iteration itself we were able to cover everyone. It has taken us a couple of iterations over the course of time, as we have been able to achieve most of our milestones in the journey of the organization. We have been able to cover everyone, and when I say everyone, I know it might sound odd to some of the participants in the group, but that also includes, let's say, my office assistants, anyone who's a full-time employee of Qapita or any of the group companies of Qapita right now has an ownership share. They have some ESOPs which are getting vested. A typical, so you asked when did they become eligible, to just to cover that part. What we typically look for is at least 1 year of service, and once a single year of service is complete, as I said, across levels, junior employees, senior employees, does not matter. Even as I said, office assistants get covered. And this has been consistent approach. And we have implemented this couple of years back, and this has been going from the last 2 years now.
Okay, and sorry, so repeating my question that so typically means when you went this with this proposal that we should cover everyone, and I really feel proud actually to be part of this organization where we covered everyone. What is our own mission to the like equity ownership, and we actually believe in that. But just want to means little bit more going into the deeper that when you went with this particular proposal of covering everyone in the organization, what type of typical questions you get from founders or investors means or because this is not the generally the industry trend actually. If you see the industry trend, it is not like that they are covering everyone in the organization. Generally, it is like top as you mentioned in the earlier part that it is more like that who are in the revenue goals, who are at the leadership, approximate 10-15% of employees are getting in the
Right.
organization.
Yeah.
So it's like going I mean, so what industry is doing, it is like going differently from the industry. So what you faced from your side and what are the questions comes to you, and what are the organization view on the same actually.
So in all honesty, it was actually really easy, at least at
Okay.
Capita. And I understand that, the industry trend can be different, and you guys interact with a lot of clients across the board, and, and and everyone has their different approach towards it. And let me probably cover why it was easier for Capita, and then I will also try to, give like a larger reason of why probably it is difficult for the other industries. So, see, Capita, as I said early on, it was always a mission-driven company with a huge, big aspiration to become a global organization, dominate the markets in which we are present. So we always wanted to make sure that everyone who's part of the organization truly and deeply commits to this, which of course is, it has its own challenges. It building a startup with all the markets shaping, right? 2020 is when the COVID came, right? So and the fundraising cycles have changed, so a lot of dynamism happened. So we wanted to make sure, despite all the changes that are happening, our employees remain truly committed to the mission of the organization. And as I said, the investors at the end of the day are looking to guarantee a return on their investment, and that can only happen when there is maximum amount of value creation in the business, right? And the maximum amount of value creation happens in the business when everyone contributes. So as I said, it was easy for us because of the stage of the business, and in fact, and the business that we are in now. For companies at different stages, different points in maturity curve, it definitely is a question. And when I say we ran a broad-based program, so it's not a recommendation, right? It is something that suited our specific needs at that point in time and continues to be relevant even today. But each organization need to choose what they really need and what kind of solution will solve their specific problem. And this is where our advisory and consultant team comes in place, where they try and understand the context and advise accordingly. But if you can, and if it makes sense to you to do a broad based program, I would highly advise that.
Thanks, Sandeep. So, Sandeep, now coming from the strategic side, little bit to the implementation actually, that because broad-based plan have their own nuances actually, that how, I means, and
Correct.
specifically related to that, how then, okay, managing investors and founders expectation is different and managing employees expectation is different.
Right.
So just want to understand that what are the means issues, or I will not say issues, but what are the points you have considered when actually you implemented and managing the expectations of the recipients and the communication actually, that what I mean how you communicated to them. So actually that is because because yeah, means first step is yes, that we have a clear reason that okay, we want to cover everyone and it's a Broadway plan, but there are some other nuances as well, like how you going to I mean, everybody has a different expectations from stock options, how you communicate well to them. Then as you said, and really see it that we covered everyone in the organization, even to the very junior level. But I mean, understanding may be different actually. So just want to
Yeah.
that if you can throw some light on the communication part and the managing expectations.
In fact, what you pointed out, Rahul, is probably the most complex and let me say the hardest part of the entire equation, right?
Mm.
Convincing the investors and founders was easy, but making sure that each and every employee connects with this, understands this, is the most complex problem. And it requires a lot of effort. And this is still an ongoing journey for us. But we've been, through our system based approach, have been able to communicate this fairly clearly. We have been covering this in our town halls. Right? In fact, it's a typical approach that we generally take with the client, and that's the approach we are taking here. But still, we believe it's a journey. So early on, uh, let's say for junior employees, just the fact that they are getting ESOPs and they have a share in ownership, that they don't even literally care about the amount, just knowing that they have some options which will get vested at a certain duration, that generates a certain amount of engagement and generates a certain amount of curiosity, right? They really need to know what they're getting, right? And this is why where the HR team comes into play and our finance team comes into play. And through one-on-one interactions, sometimes through group discussions and through communication, we try to explain this on a case-to-case basis, while we do not expect that everyone will be able to fully understand it. We always consider it a journey, but there are moments in the timeline when knowing this fully well becomes important. So, for example, a liquidity event, right? So, during an exercise or a liquidity event where it actually turns into, a little cash and there are tax implications and such, we prepare ourselves in a manner that when it matters, we communicate much more deeply and we go into the details. We talk about tax implications, we talk about various other factors. So as I said, it's a gradual thing, it's a journey, and we are getting better at it.
Okay, Sandeep, because Sandeep, what we have seen in the industry, this is one of the major, means as you said, is the
Yes.
hardest part or pain point in every company. And if you ask me, in my view, where this is the point where any ESOP scheme will succeed or fail, actually, means how you
Right.
communicate and how you communicate better. Because the first part is the structure part, what you absolutely said, that it should connect with the, or it should be linked to your own mission or the organization mission, but communicating that mission to everyone or all the recipients is the toughest part actually. And it's not in India actually. If you see the global surveys as well, it's a I means you will find it that this is one of the main points which people have said that we need to improve it, and they feel that employee communication is where means they can hire the best lawyers for the compliances, they can go for the tax consultants, but employee communication where the human touch is required, the HR team I think is the
Yes.
best team
Yes.
who can do it. So, Sandeep, just going into a little bit deeper into this, that what you said about the communication part. So, if I asked you that, okay, means you talked about town halls, that you done town halls and all, but as the organization is already dealing in the equity or ESOPs day in day out, do you find it that the questions are little bit challenging for HR team as well, that what questions they are getting from the recipients, or it will be technical, or it is no questions at all actually because they know everything. So just want to understand those aspects, because this is some of the thing where even when we go to the clients, these are some of the things even clients ask, that okay, what type of questions we should put, what FAQs we should give it to the employees, so that it is easy to them to understand this particular subject, which is little technical. It touches every aspects of the organization. So, want to know your thoughts and how you deal with this.
See, I think typically, though I know we covered, I kind of mentioned the tax aspects and all, but it doesn't really start there. It starts at the performance criteria itself, right? So our equity options, the way we distribute it, of course, are tenure based, but there is a strong performance linkage as well. So we try and we put a lot of effort in making sure that the performance expectations are as clearly articulated and shared as much as possible. So a lot of our work went into designing a performance system, right, which people trust in and which people believe in, and they find alignment with, and they want to drive those goals and the objectives and the OKRs that they have in place. So it starts there. And then once, let's say, in every review cycle, after we conclude this, we always try to communicate that this was the performance criteria. So we give the feedback not just at a manager level, but we also uh, share information at a centralized level during town halls, where we mention that these were, let's say, the revenue targets, the ARR targets for us this year, and this is how much we achieved. Most of the most of the options that have vested till now, everyone knows that there is a multiplier factor due to the direct business goals. And to keep it simple and understandable, we have kept a single metric, right? So we do not talk about five metrics, or typically, right, or three to five metrics, but we just, on a broad level, we just talk about a single metric. And if that single metric is achieved, everyone knows that this is the portion of the equity that will get vested this year. So first is cleaning up and structuring the performance system itself. Second is running the entire program on a platform. The It eases all the transactions, every communication, everything happens through the platform. So it makes our life as HR a lot easier. So and we Capita has a fantastic platform that we use internally as well. So that definitely helps. And for the liquidity that I had briefly mentioned earlier, we have a liquidity platform in place, right? We will be running the platform. We'll be running the entire exercise on the platform. And my hope is, with the right technology in place, we will be able to do this as well. So I believe, to just to summarize this, with the right technology and with the right systems in place, this becomes a lot easier than it would be otherwise.
Yeah, yeah, Sandeep. Means I can understand this part, because even means what we can see that when there is a multi-jurisdiction is there, multi companies are there. Keeping records are very important. That it should be kept properly, and when you are covering everyone in the organization, it should be maintained properly, because we can't go. Means we can't ignore compliances actually, which are very much required, and where the record keeping is very important part. So thanks Sandeep for putting, I mean, so in so much detail, that how communications and how you manage the expectations. Coming to this part. So Sandeep, if as an HR, if you feel that okay, because you have already seen the cycle actually that I think, and that how what questions comes from founders, what questions comes from investors, then what questions comes from employees. So you are like a center of all, and even I think the some questions come from finance, compliance, always there. So just want to understand means if you want that. What is the means HR continue to play in this role, and the first part is the implementation, but can you throw some light on the continuous part as well? That as an HR, the implementation is one, which is like okay, I can take care of is a one-time activity, but ESOPs are the long-term incentives plan. It is not for 1 year that okay it is done and it okay bye bye. It is like a 4 year cycle. Then it is continue over a period of time. Then people exercise it. So so what message you want to give it to the HR community that what are the things they should consider at the time of implementation, the important points, and as an ongoing activity, don't consider it as a one time. How as an ongoing activity, what are the focus they should, or what are the points to be focused in? So that is something I want to understand from you.
See, by design in the industry, ESOPs are long-term compensation plans, right? So of course, you can have a 6 months cliff or a even lesser in some cases, but by design they are supposed to be long-term, and the core idea is to always create a model where there's long-term retention, right? So for example, a 3 years vesting cycle or a 4 year vesting cycle. That's, I'm sure these are the plans that typically anyone would see in the market. And I totally understand your question that over a 3 year or a 4 year period, a person can have a lot of questions and about a lot of, let's say, curiosity or doubt about how the plans are faring, right? So in our case, we have a clearly defined vesting schedule, right? A very with a very clearly defined the first vesting, the cliff period, and after that the follow-up period, exercise period. Sorry, the vesting period. Till we also are make doing some communication around the upcoming exercise events or the liquidity events. So we are kind of prepping people for that. But by design, the program itself takes care of the communication. So we don't usually get a lot of queries except for, as I said, the performance aspect of it, right? So because there is a very strong linkage with the performance tenure aspect, everyone naturally understands. It's already baked in, it's already communicated in the system. So performance is something which for us, it's a regular exercise. So at a broader level, we set our goals every quarter and we relook at them every year, but we review them on a monthly basis. So we have group conversations where every month we know where we are and what are we doing. So people are able to anticipate, make a, let's say if they want to put some more efforts and reorganize or re-strategize, they are able to anticipate and act accordingly. So typically, it as I said, if you tie your performance engine with the equity engine or the compensation engine, it works really well. It does reduce a lot of question. Now, people naturally understand that this is going to work out. And for a company like, I'll give Capita specific example. In the last 2 to 3 years, we have had some major milestone events which are publicly known. So, for example, we raised a Series B recently, and there were initial some fundraisers, and then we got an investment from Charles Schwab and all. So, all that is public. Then, as I mentioned earlier, we speak about our key metric almost every week, every month, every day, right? So the key metric that everyone is looking to achieve. So people know that the organization is headed in a certain direction, right? People know the business is growing. They know there is business value creation that is happening. So that also takes away a lot of fear of what's happening to my ESOPs values, because your ESOPs values is directly tied to the business value. So in a growing business, you get very less questions.
So Sandeep, just want to add here that so but as you see that it is a long-term plan, and sometimes it is like an agreement actually, means you can say it's like the employees initially see it like a paper or an agreement between the company and him that okay, I will get it over a period of time. As you said, it is 3 to 4 years period, and generally that is the market practice as well, that people give it over a period of time. It is not like immediate and all, and some regulatory compliances are there. But keeping the motivation live to that level, that okay, I got this, I am motivated today, and maybe next year. So how the HR team put the, I mean, what programs you run or how you communicate to the employees to keep that motivation live over a period of 4 years? Because I just want to add, Sandeep, it's not going into, because you need to focus on this, but sometimes it happens that employees ask, okay, what will happen to my options after 2 years or 3 years maybe, or somebody will come to HR team and ask these questions, or maybe their HODs, or maybe to colleagues. So how you tackle these conversations to keep them motivation actually? That is something, because maybe the first time it is good, it is happy to have, but over a period of time, keeping that motivation live is something I want to.
So, okay, just to be like very specific on this. So there are two typical questions that people have. First is, what will happen to my vested options once I leave the organization in case I do? The second is, when is the next liquidity event? When will my, options convert into cash? So our policy, and which I believe is the standard practice as well. So our vested options remain vested even after an employee leaves, of course, within the a certain exercise period, which is already predefined and communicated. And the duration needs to be long enough. It can't be I know a lot of companies have shorter durations, and they, of course, they have their own reasons to do it. But for us, we have a very healthy long duration within which your vested options remain with you, and you can exercise them during any liquidity event. Also, we do run a liquidity events ourselves for multiple clients, and we are a major promoter, as I said, of wealth creation ourselves. So we are very keen and looking forward to do some liquidity events soon in future. And I believe when we are able to do at least one event next, so people will be able to see that there is a conversion of the equity into cash, and we believe this is something which will create long term trust. And I would highly recommend any organization to consider this as an option. Liquidity is a milestone, it's an event where people actually see that, the paper money becomes real money, and doing that helps you build that motivation and the trust that you, Rahul, you were asking about.
No, thanks, Sandeep. Means actually means what you touch upon is a very important point actually, and generally this is the suggestions from everyone to the clients as well, or the organizations, that the liquidity event is not like a settlement, or it is not like that. Okay, now it is done. It is more like keeping that motivation live. That okay, so whoever see the long term into the organization, these events generally help it, and it is not like a one time activity. The company should see that how they can run it for a not every year, but it should be like a two in a gap of some years. Actually, it should happen. That keeps, and very well said, that it convert the paper money into the actual wealth creation, what they see it into the organization by becoming the owner of that particular part. So, Sandeep, thanks for this. I think I'm on the my last question actually on this part, and I think we have like 10, 40, 40 11:45 is the we need to close it out. So I just this is the last question from my end, and then we means maybe Ketan will take it from that. Anyone has any other question? So generally, in the I means the some key takeaways actually, if you want to from your experience actually, and not from this organization actually, you have handled the ESOPs in your earlier experience as well. So the one key takeaways you want to give it to other CHROs actually, that okay, so that is something I want to understand, that what are the key takeaways you want to give it to other CHROs.
Okay. See, to other CHROs, first of all, I would like to say that HR professionals, the head of HR, the CHROs, have a very vast toolkit. Probably this is one profession where you have multiple ways to solve a single problem, right? It's not just the equity or the rewards, right? There are multiple tools to do that. So when you pick a specific tool from your arsenal, right? In this case, equity, my suggestion would be to clarify your why, right? You need to deeply think about why are you introducing a specific instrument within your compensation structure, and what objectives are you trying to drive through it. Traditionally, a lot of people have seen ESOPs or any form of equity as just a component of the overall compensation, right? Which I believe was useful, but it doesn't really have a deep strategic intent. It just have a transactional value. It doesn't really solve much for you other than giving you a wider basket. And as I said, HR already has so many choices. So even when you take, let's say, a total rewards perspective of compensation, there's thousands of things that you can do. But when you're choosing equity, there has to be a strategic intent behind it. So typically, organization would choose it to ensure retention, right? Performance alignment, creating a culture of ownership, and or all of the above, right? Generally, it's a mix of all. You need to understand which basket where you're putting the maximum weight and what are you really trying to drive. And it depends on the context of your organization. It depends on the business maturity of your business, and it also depends on, let's say, any specific events that you're having. I can maybe give a very interesting example that we ourselves at Capita, where we use equity as a powerful tool. So, Capita is a group of companies now, right? It's a and lot of we made acquisitions and we merged with various strategic businesses across the globe. And in the last 3 to 4 years, we have acquired two companies in India. Now, it was critical for us that the group that is joining us, they feel part of the same organization, right? They hold the brand Capita and then they completely own it, right? And we wanted to ensure that they have a deep level of commitment. There are multiple ways to do it, but we found equity as a powerful tool to do that. So we made sure everyone who came together, joined us in the merge entity, got to have some options. And we right now, all Capita Group entity employees, ending the last previous annual cycle, everyone has equity options with them. So we were able to use this as a strong commitment tool in a very unique use case. So again, understand your why, understand how you want to deploy it, and your why is very contextual. This is a very powerful instrument. You of course need to talk to our team and our consulting and advisory team and understand how you can deploy it. But this is a very flexible and powerful option, and you can deploy it as you wish. But know your why and know where you're putting your weights in which basket the maximum.
Thanks, Sandeep, and this is wonderful actually, and I really mean say that what objectives you said that like retention of talent, performance, and these are the very important objectives. I mean, and if you see, uh, I mean, even we have seen in our surveys as well that people are more putting weight on the retention rather than attracting the talent. So it is more like giving the ownership and retain the people to the bring them to the next level rather than hiring from. So that is something is a change in the strategy and culture. But thanks Sandeep for putting it in a I mean it's very best manner actually I will say, and even I understood the majority part of our that what is why we did it. So thanks a lot. And any questions, Ketan? If
Yeah, yeah. So thanks, Rahul Sandeep. We have two questions. So one is from the Vasant Kumar, which is he rightly pointed out what we have discussed today. So his major focus is on how we should put before the management what are the key crucial parameters which we the management get buy-in. The management will agree to implement the ESOP plan. So that is the first question. And the second, which is I think what Capita has done, he is also touching on the same thing that we have covered the broad base. So is equally important, because generally the trend is what Rahul said is to cover the senior management or those who are growth drivers. So how we should cover, and how we should, when we are going with the management for the broad based plan, so what are the key things you put before the management for the rest of the organization people like admin, HR, compliance? So what is your thought on, and what are the buy-in to get from the management?
So I'll probably take the first part, Rahul, and then you can
Sure,
cover
sure.
the technical details. So as I said, you need to know your why, right? And then probably the question would be that how do I know, right? How do I know why, right? Because then you need to go and convince your investors and founders. It needs to it you need to be very close to your business. You need to truly understand your business as an HR professional, and you need to know what stage the business is as at. And if you have that clear, your why will become amply clear, right? It starts there. So, for example, I think you probably were listening when I took the merger and acquisition example. That was a specific event, and that was a specific point in time where we were able to, communicate and create a narrative that this is going to really help, and we were able to convince our investors and founders on that. So you need to understand what your business is, what journey it is going through. You need to find the right time to communicate it. And yeah, I would say start with why. Rahul, over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Sandeep. Thanks. So I just want to add here, and what Sandeep has said is absolutely right. Anything start with the equity implementation starts with why, actually, that why you want to do it, and second is how it is going to link with your own mission, and it should not be like seen as a separate thing altogether from your other rewards. It should not be considered, okay, in equity I will consider performance, but I don't have any budgets or the performance parameters into the organization. So it does not work in solo. It the equity should also merge with your overall organization mission. So that is something is very important when you are going for to the board management. The second important part is how you feel that the retention or ownership is important actually in the organizations. This is one of the very key key point. The wealth creation, the other compliances are all, I will say it is more like a secondary or output of what you are implementing. But the first important part is that how you feel that your employees should be owners in the organization, and that is like a very big cultural shift also within an organization. So this is something I will suggest. The second I just want to put for the HR team actually, and it is something that the HR, because this is something is the ESOP should be owned by, in my view, it should be owned by HR persons, because it is more related to the employee thinking, and where I also feel because all other part like accounting is a byproduct actually. When you once implement, accounting follow with the principles. You can't change it like, okay, I don't want to do accounting or I want to do it differently. It can't happen. Similarly, with the compliances part, compliance is something which is more like to give a clear field to play on it, that okay, how I can make my plan and with more flexibility, and it should link to my own mission. But compliances generally don't run the implementation actually, because compliances are more like to give a transparency to everyone, and that's why regulators comes into the picture, that whatever you are doing, you are transparent to your shareholders, you are transparent to the employees, and you are transparent to, and even if the management is doing, they also know certainly that what they are doing. So that's why regulators generally what put it in the compliance is some rules and disclosures, because it should known to everyone. So in my view, if you are planning to implement an ESOP scheme, the first thing is that why you are doing it, how it is going to sync with your mission, current missions, and what cultural shift you are looking for. So once we have these answers, the other things follow actually. So that is from my side.
Yeah, thanks,
I
thanks,
hope,
Rahul. Sandeep,
Ketan, I have mixed both the questions together.
you mixed the both,
But yeah,
but would
but
like
if
to know more from the Sandeep that on the second question that for the rest of the organization, like for the other departments who are not directly contributing to the growth, let's say for the top line or bottom line, but they are playing the crucial role backstages, though it like what Rahul said, compliances, finance. So how you think that and your thought on this?
So, okay, sorry,
See,
Sandeep, put into I just jump it into one thing. So, I
sure,
think the
sure.
question is related to the coverage, or it is related to like how
Coverage,
they
it's
can
related to
support
coverage,
the it.
it's related
Okay,
to coverage.
okay. So, how to
Like
cover?
generally what trend is like senior management we cover, but what about the other part? Like in our case, we have broad base. So as he said, ki the
Yeah,
office bearer are also part of the ESOP scheme. So how that
absolutely.
is, what is the thought and how to get that buy
Yes,
from the
yes.
management?
So I'll see, I'm sure there are now in India plenty of examples of companies who have done beautiful broad-based plans, and they have been able to identify the critical talent and people even at junior levels who are adding value. But just to give you like maybe some, without taking the name of the companies that I am aware of, some of the examples which will hopefully motivate you to, consider this as an option. And maybe before that, same point I'll make again. Understand your business. Once you understand your business as an HR person, it's your duty. Once you understand your business, you truly understand who's adding value at what level. So for some of the companies, it may be just the kitchen staff, right? For some of the companies, it might be your supply chain, it might be your pickers and packers, right? Loaders and unloaders, right? And as I said, without naming the company, there are a lot of companies we have considered those. There have been stories of admin office assistants becoming millionaires. That has happened, right? In India, in our country, right? So HR plays a key role there where you truly understand who's adding what kind of value and why it is critical to your organization. And that's the narrative that you need to lead with. And this is where you need to put a lot of effort in convincing your investors and founders. And it is narrative building, it is storytelling, but it needs to be relevant and it needs to make sense, right, to your specific business. So start with business, build narratives, find the right talent, you become the champion for them, and I'm sure you'll be able to convince your leadership to include them.
Great. There are two other questions which are not directly to the topic, but yeah, I think considering the broad-based plan, so the Balaji is curious to know what should be the ideal ESOP pool in that case. I think the question is from that sense. So what should be the ESOP pool in case we are covering for a broad-based plan? So yeah.
I think the definition of ideal changes depending on the business, but I think Rahul, because you would have seen a lot of industry data, I believe you will be able to give a better answer on this.
Sandeep. Balaji, there is, I will not say there is any ideal paid up ESOP pool actually, means there is no ideal thing in the world. The things changes with at what stage you are, and as you said, that but if you are just a incubator, just started with the organizations at very early startup stage, 15% something we have seen in the industry, but I will not say that okay, you just go ahead and do a 15% ESOP pool. It also depends upon the other factors, that how big your organization is, what is the growth prospect you are looking for, how many who are what is your head count projections over a period of time. So all these things we need to consider. But as you move to from the early stage to maybe series funding, or maybe to the private equity, this ESOP pool generally comes down from 15% to even 5%. And if you see in the listed company, it is like lower than 5%. So it also depends upon the stage of the company. That may be one of the factor, but it is not only the guiding factor for just to create a pool on this particular parameters. We need to see the other aspects as well.
किसके
So,
मुझे पता नहीं किसका है फेंक दूंगा
and
बेस्ट ऑफ लक जो
I think the
मिट्टी के लव यू क्या है कैसे
uh,
नॉर्मल
and what sorry so I think Ketan, this is the first question or second question. I'm not sure. Actually. Sorry, I'm not able to see
No, it is on the
the.
ESOP pool. Yeah, it's on the ESOP pool. So you rightly pointed out it's not any straightforward answer. It always depend on how the organization is, how they want to cover, and the business basically, as Sandeep rightly mentioned, we should know the business and accordingly then who to cover, at what level to cover. So and that will then define the ESOP pool. We have seen recently on global that it is 100% ESOP pool. So the entire
Oh,
organization
interesting.
is by the employees. So yeah, so there is no specific answer to that, but yeah, we should know the business and that will give the answer to the ESOP pool. Then another one is on the taxation. I think it's just his question like at the liquidity event, what who should bear the capital gain tax? So there are two taxes basically. I think Balaji is more talking from the unlisted part, wherein the sale and the exercise and the sale happens at the same time. So what are the taxation aspect there, though it's not the topics related question, but I think we have some time. So Rahul, if you want to highlight any in few words, so it will help.
Sure. Yeah. Balaji, it works from the two sides actually. One is that what your tax law says. So if I go with a tax law thing, the capital gains, and I think you're asking for capital gain, what I heard from Ketan. So capital gain tax is always the responsibility of the SSC. So SSC means who is getting the benefit actually out of it. So the first step is that yes, it is, if I go from the tax law side, the employees or the SSCs need to pay the capital gain tax. I'm talking more from the capital gain tax side. But so that is the majority you will find in the industry as well, because the capital gain tax, and generally it has been paid during the assessment side and all. Very in a very less transaction, you will find that organization is paying it. But if the organization is paying it, it is not considered. It is considered as a bonus. So it is like a tax on tax. So generally, organizations wants to avoid that situation actually, because from the income tax or law side, it is a SSC who is responsible for capital gain, and he need to pay that capital gain from his income or whatever gain he has making. I hope I answered it what you.
Yes, yes, thanks. I think you touched upon the right aspect of capital gain. So I think this is one of the best webinar I could say, because the objective, because generally the or webinar we organized, there the other side is the industry experts, but the advisors who are advising to a clients and getting the answer from the inside is itself is a great thing to know. Like while we are on the other side, when we are advising to the clients, the thought process is different. But as Rahul in the initial stage, initial session started, that he's a recipient as well as he's a so he's asking from the both sides. So and Sandeep, yeah, you I think the how the Capita thought process, how the leadership is thinking, and the way you express being the HR, considering not from the senior management to the across organization level, that is a very fantastic thing to implement the ESOPs. And yeah, thanks everyone for attending the today's webinar. Thanks Rahul and Sandeep for giving the insightful thoughts and your experience. Thank you.